Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us today for our webinar with the South Dakota FSA. We have Gail Gullickson here with us today. We are doing a two-part webinar series on FSA programs and eligibility. Today, we're going to be going over just programs and eligibility. So farm loans to crop insurance, conservation programs, disaster assistance, and learning how this program is here to help support your operation. And then we'll be going into part 2 on September 11th, where we will talk more about the FSA loan program and tools and where to get started and how to grow your operation. So welcome and thanks for joining us. If you all have questions, you're welcome to put them in the chat. We will be recording the webinar today, so it's available on our website. Thank you, Gail, for joining us today to present to our audience. So yeah, we'll go ahead and just get started here today. I will be doing a webinar survey at the end and going over other webinars that we will be offering. But with that said, thank you again, and I will pass it over to Gail.
Hey, that sounds great. Thanks so much, Dawn, to you and your team for hosting. I'm honored to be with you all today and share the overview, like she talked about, of FSA programs and some eligibility. And as we go, feel free to put questions in the chat. I know Dawn will be watching that for us. I'm happy to answer as we go back if we need to, and just keep this a good discussion about what might be available. So here's essentially what today's discussion is going to look like. After we do an introduction to FSA, we'll discuss conservation and disaster assistance programs, as well as highlight a few of our loan opportunities. Then we're going to visit about eligibility and getting started with FSA. Finally, we'll talk about staying connected to USDA. Nationwide, FSA helps America's farmers and ranchers invest in, improve, and expand their agricultural operations. FSA programs also assist producers in recovering from the impacts of natural disasters and market fluctuations. Income support includes programs like the Current Ag Risk Coverage, so ARC, and Price Loss Coverage, PLC programs. And those programs provide financial support during periods of low prices or revenue shortfalls, or the Dairy Margin Coverage and Marketing Assistance for Specialty Crops program. When natural disasters hit, FSA is here to support the recovery effort with programs that help offset crop and livestock losses and the cost of land and infrastructure restoration, with programs such as Livestock Forage Disaster Program and the Non-Insured Disaster Assistance Program, which we're going to discuss today. FSA also offers a variety of lending options with loans of varying sizes and terms to help your operation cash flow, help you update critical infrastructure, or make key purchases at the right time. Loans include marketing assistant loans to help producers meet cash flow needs during harvest, as well as our farm loans to help farmers and ranchers get the financing they need to start, expand, or maintain a family farm or ranch. And then the Farm Storage Facility Loan Program, which is not just for grain bins anymore. Finally, conservation programs like CRP offer incentives to improve soil health, water and air quality, and develop additional grazing infrastructure. We're going to focus mostly on conservation programs and disaster assistance today. First, USDA Farm Service Agency's Conservation Reserve Program, CRP, is one of the largest private lands conservation programs in the United States. CRP is a voluntary program that contracts with agricultural producers, so environmentally sensitive agricultural land is not farmed or ranched, but instead devoted to conservation benefits. CRP participants establish long-term resource-conserving plant species, such as approved grasses or trees, which is known as covers, to control soil erosion, improve water quality, and develop wildlife habitat. In return, FSA provides participants with rental payments and cost share assistance. That contract duration is between 10 and 15 years. There is a long list of CRP practices available, but eligibility will be dependent on the land being offered and resource concerns to be addressed. Most practices require that the land have a cropland status and cropping history. Some buffer practices target marginal pasture land, and then grassland CRP requires an existing grass cover. I do have a few examples on the next slide, but it's just important that you contact your local FSA office for available CRP practices and to determine eligibility. Okay, so here's some CRP enrollment options. They include the continuous CRP, general CRP, grassland CRP, and if available, the Conservation Reserve Enhancement Program, or CREP. Through continuous CRP, environmentally sensitive ag land to be voted to buffers, waterways, wetlands, and certain wildlife habitat may be offered for enrollment at any time with conservation practices like the CP37, which is the duck nesting habitat. Under the general CRP sign-up, producers can offer environmentally sensitive ag land during announced enrollment periods. Offers to enroll land to be devoted to long-term grass or tree covers are ranked according to Environmental Benefits Index. And for instance, I have the conservation practice, we call it CP. Conservation practice 1 is establishment of permanent introduced grasses and legumes. Then the grassland CRP, it protects grassland, rangeland, and pasture land while supporting working lands practices. Land with an existing grass cover may be offered into grassland CRP during announced enrollment period, and then all offers are ranked according to that Environmental Benefits Index. The Conservation Reserve Enhancement Program, or CREP, signups are available in states and counties with approved CREP partnership agreements. And we'll talk about this more in the next slide. The CREP agreements are designed to address conservation goals on ag land in specific geographic areas. So land eligibility criteria and authorized conservation practices will be determined on a CREP by CREP basis. So let's talk a little bit more about the Conservation Reserve Enhancement Program. CREP is a key component of FSA's Conservation Reserve Program. CREP is a public-private partnership allowing states, tribal governments, nonprofit, and private entities to partner with FSA to implement CRP practices that address high priority conservation and environmental benefits. Partners work with FSA to develop CREP agreements designed to address conservation goals on ag lands in specific geographic areas. Possible conservation practices that can be implemented include riparian buffers, filter strips, wetlands, and pollinator plantings. Partners work with FSA to define those practices that achieve substantial on-site and off-site natural resource benefits, targeting one or more of the following goals: restore or establish wildlife habitat, maintain or improve grassland productivity, enhance water quality, reduce soil erosion, enhance air quality, restore and enhance wetlands, promote conservation forestry, increase control of critical invasive species, enhance critical threatened and endangered plant and animal species survivor, achieve a net water savings in ground and or surface waters, and conserve energy. FSA encourages CREP agreements that target multiple natural resource concerns to maximize conservation benefits. So are there any questions about the conservation program opportunities that I shared in the last few slides?
Yep, Gail, I do have one,
Okay.
and you kind of covered it just a little bit, but maybe you want to elaborate on it. But how do you know what CRP will pay and what kind of land qualifies is the question.
Oh, yeah, that's a very good question. So we have what they're called rental rates. They're county rental rates. So you'd want to reach out to your local FSA office to find what those are. And they had been posted, and I don't believe they're online anymore. So reaching out to your local FSA office, they can actually work through that and tell you what the actual dollar amount, we call it the rental rate, is per acre based on the type of practice that you would be doing or implementing. And like I said, there's quite a long list of practices, like a lot. I just put a few on there, but yeah, they're able to get that information locally. Any
Thanks,
other
Gail.
questions?
Not right now. That was the only one
Okay.
for now. Yep.
Yeah, that's a good one. I was glad that was brought up. I didn't tell you how much, but it varies locally. So,
Thank you.
okay, so now let's turn to our disaster assistance programs. And as I stated earlier, when natural disasters hit and nationwide, we've had quite a range from east to west, just among the states. FSA is here to support the recovery effort with programs that help offset crop and livestock losses. and the cost of land and infrastructure restoration. If you recently suffered loss or damage due to a natural disaster, you can learn about USDA disaster assistance programs that might be right for you by completing just 5 simple steps in this disaster assistance discovery tool, which is found on farmers.gov. And you'll hear me mention farmers.gov quite often throughout the presentation. It's a really good resource and a place for you to go, and it's called Disaster Assistance Discovery Tool. We'll help you walk right through that. So I've got quite a list here, right? We're not going to talk about them all, but the programs displayed are FSA's standing disaster programs. These are options for livestock producers, row crop operations, vineyards, orchardists, and even non-industrial forests. Let's take a look at some of these programs in more detail. So the Livestock Forage Program, LFP, is one of FSA's most popular disaster programs for livestock producers. LFP offers financial support to livestock producers who experience grazing losses due to qualifying drought conditions or fire on a federally managed rangelands. So keep that in mind. LFP, the forage disaster, is grazing losses. And the program is designed to help producers recover from significant forage losses, ensuring the continuity of their operations and the well-being of their livestock. Grazing losses must occur on land physically located in a county experiencing a drought during the normal grazing period for the county. And drought relief through LFP begins based on a county status on the U.S. Drought Monitor, 8 consecutive weeks at a D2 drought, or 4 consecutive weeks at D3 during that established normal grazing period would trigger LFP. As the drought intensity worsens, the payment factor for LFP increases. Payments are limited either by the carrying capacities for the physical grazing ground affected or by the total number of eligible livestock in inventory. And just for instance, in South Dakota, we actually have 6 counties that have triggered earlier on for the drought. I know many areas have received some substantial rain and are not even in the D1 status, but we did have some early on. And those counties in South Dakota are Bennett, Custer, Fall River, Jackson, Oglala, Lakota, and Pennington. And then recently, Ziebach County has also triggered for the LFP due to the Route 13 fire. Deadline to apply for 2025 losses, so things that occurred December, that'd be calendar year January 1 to end of December. So during this time frame, during the normal grazing period, which is April to October, you actually have until March 2nd to apply for that of 2026. But just know if you have LFP in your county, you want to reach out now as that assistance is available for you. So another disaster program is Livestock Indemnity Program, or LIP. So the LFP that I just talked about was grazing losses. LIP, Livestock Indemnity Program, is death losses. This offers that financial compensation to livestock owners and contract growers who suffer significant livestock losses beyond normal mortality levels due to an eligible adverse event. And those events include adverse weather conditions, diseases, and attacks by federally protected animals. The Livestock Indemnity Program helps mitigate the financial impact of these losses, enabling producers to recover and to continue their operations. Applicants must provide verifiable documentation of the livestock deaths and the circumstances causing the losses. So that may include veterinary records, purchase records, and other supporting documents. Just as a heads up, South Dakota FSA will have our 2026 calving books available in the county offices soon. We had them in 2025, and it was a really good tool for producers to use to keep track of records. So they will be coming. Another program to talk about is ELA.
Gail?
So, yes, question? Yes.
Yep, one question around documentation. You mentioned vet records and purchase records. Is there any other records that they will need to show besides those two for this LIP program?
You know, honestly, as awful as this sounds, we would suggest if it was possible, especially before someone could get out there and see them, photographs, or if someone had been out there, a veterinarian or someone, you know, the records that you had this many heads. Sometimes we use those as well for the number of head. on hand, or balance sheets or bank records or things that are showing number of head. So sometimes that documentation may be helpful. Also these calving books, places that you're keeping records in and recording death losses, losing calves or cows that have died. So that's why we kind of came up with that, what we call a calving notebook or a planning book. So yeah, the more records you can keep, and I'll talk about that again here, and documentation is really helpful, and even if that includes photos.
Okay, next question is on the
Mhm.
eligible diseases. Has the M. bovis in bison always been included on this, or is this something that is new?
It was added, but I can't say specifically for the date. I know I want to say it's been a year or more. But when the program rolled out, no, it was not in there. It's been recently added. And so I can't think of the exact date. I apologize when it's added, but that's why I wanted to make note of it in here. Because that was specifically added to the program.
Okay, thank you. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah, great questions. I'm glad someone noticed that. I should have pointed that out as well. So I'm glad it had it on the screen for y'all. Okay, so now, we are the agency of alphabets, and we've talked about LFP and for grazing, and we've talked to LIP for death losses.
Gail, sorry.
Yep.
One
Another
more
question. Yeah.
question popped up
Yeah.
for the LIP, and so we don't
Okay.
move ahead, we can
Yeah,
ask.
that's fine.
They're asking if you can go into detail a little bit more about adverse weather for LIP.
Okay, and you're gonna have me get let's see if I have some more. Oh, let's see. I was just gonna get some more examples here. Okay, so adverse weather, I put some examples here. Obviously, these are some of the things we have in South Dakota. So they must occur, the eligible adverse weather event must occur in the calendar year. So we're talking 2025 right now. And they could be weather events that are not limited to as determined by the deputy administrator of farm programs or designee, like earthquake, hail, lightning, tornado is even included. Tropical storm, typhoon, let's see what else might be. Winter storm. If the winter storm lasts for 3 consecutive days and is accompanied by high winds, freezing rain or sleet, heavy snowfall, extreme cold temperatures. So there are some things like that. But I would encourage, if there's ever any questions or you want to report of loss because you did suffer a loss as an adverse weather event, contact your local office. And it's usually extreme events that are not likely to happen. Like we expect some snow and cold in January. And so we prepare for that. Years ago, I believe it was 2012 or 2013, there was the Winter Storm Atlas, and that came early October. And that was a situation where cattle producers of West River obviously had their cattle out on pasture yet and were not prepared. And that was devastating for the state of South Dakota and cattle producers. And so that was a program like this. That was a extreme, adverse weather event. Drought is not an eligible adverse weather event except when it's associated with anthrax. Does that help at all? It means extreme or abnormal damaging weather that is not expected to occur during the loss period, which directly results in eligible livestock losses. That's what I mean. Like typically in South Dakota, we're going to expect snow, right? So if we're doing good herdsmanship and management practices, but it may be those extremes, like you get a winter storm, like it said here, lasts for 3 days and it just pounds. No, that might become adverse enough to create that eligible weather event. So does that help clarify some of the adverse events?
Yep, and I think that you naming that they should reach out to their local person is helpful too. I also put in the chat the LIP fact sheet, which lists a
Oh,
table for payment rates, and so
yes.
that's a case by
Yes, good. I
basis,
had
right?
that pulled up in my internet in case we needed it to show up. Exactly. Yes.
Yeah,
And
so
so
case by case, but yeah, I think that answers
mhm,
it for now, and I don't see any
oh,
more questions. Thank you so much, Gail.
yeah. Yeah, I'm glad they brought that up though, because it's really important. And some other things I'll talk about is the county office may not always know everything that's going on for every producer. So picking up the phone and just giving a call and saying, hey, that storm that came through the northern part of the county, we had severe losses here. And starting that conversation, because that could turn, it allows for the office to have that documentation from producers calling and saying, hey, this happened. And then, we work through that process. So really important at any time there are losses that you report it. And we do what we call like a notice of loss at any time. And you may not think it's a lot because you lost like 3. Well, that might be a lot to you and your operation, and someone else might have lost 3 and so on. So yeah, please reach out locally. We want to hear from you. Okay, so we'll move on to one more one more kind of group in this one that are kind of together, the ELAP, because as you can see, this program offers financial aid to producers who suffer losses, but again from specific adverse conditions, but not covered by other USDA disaster assistance programs. So they weren't covered under LFP for grazing, they weren't covered under LIP for the death losses, and so for livestock producers, there's assistance available for forage losses as a result of fire or other natural disaster. How about water transportation during times of drought? And we know here in South Dakota over the last few years, this is what we were dealing with. And this program was used extensively. Purchasing additional feed above normal. How about hauling? Hauling either the feed to the livestock or the livestock to the feed during those times of a natural disaster. And FSA also implemented a change that expands the ELAP assistance availability for perennial forage losses to year-round, meaning that the timing of the disaster event under this, other than drought, does not have to coincide with what we call our FSA established normal grazing period. Losses to stockpiled forages can now be addressed under ELAP. So again, producers must provide verifiable documentation of losses and the conditions causing the losses. So this may include veterinary records, feed and water receipts, purchase records, and then other supporting documents. So as you can see, it's really important to keep good records for your operation. And then if you have any questions on this, always check with your local office again for the availability of ELAP. So for those 3 programs we talked about, the deadline for any 2025 calendar year losses in these disaster programs is March 2nd of 2026. But producers are encouraged to apply now. You don't have to wait until March 2nd to apply. You could apply, do the notice of loss in the application, and receive program benefits. So are there any other questions on those 3, maybe before we move on?
I think you just answered the question, Gail. The question was for ELAP. There's no hard deadline to apply if there's a disaster. Is that correct? And I think you answered that because you said they can apply now if they have something.
Correct. Yes. See, which is very different. With these, what they did, and I like that, it makes it easier for us and the producer. They went to a same time deadline for all of these 3 programs. It used to actually vary. One might have been the end of January, one was the end of February. Now all 3 of these programs for 2025 losses, though, okay, it has to be an ELAP and a loss that's from 2025. You actually have till March 2nd. But yes, they can walk in the office, call the office today, and if ELAP is available in their county, they could apply to receive benefits right away. Yep.
Okay, thank you. No other questions right now.
Okay, good. Then we're going to move to another type of disaster program. It's an emergency conservation program. We are seeing some more of this significantly even in the state of South Dakota. These programs are nationwide, but I refer to South Dakota because that's where I'm located. And this program offers financial and technical assistance to ag producers to repair and restore farmland affected by natural disasters such as the floods, hurricanes, wildfires, drought, and other calamities. Cost share payments are up to 75% of the cost to implement the approved restoration practices. And producers who certify as limited resource, SDA, or beginning farmer and ranchers may qualify for up to 90% cost share. Advance payments may be requested. And then eligible farmland restoration practices include removing debris from farmland, like clearing snow from feedstocks and the feeding areas, grading, shaping, or leveling land, restoring fences like livestock cross fences and boundary fences, and providing emergency water during periods of severe drought. If you have a need, like for example, due to drought or heavy snowfall, communicate that with your local FSA county office. And I think we've talked about that a lot, the importance of calling locally, because the county committee, the local FSA county committee has to request an ECP sign up for their county. So it's important that the committee stay informed, and they're informed by you finding out who those committee people are, calling the office, etc. So farmers and ranchers should check with their local FSA office to find out about or ECP sign up periods, because they are also set by the FSA county committee and they do have specific deadlines. So we have actually several counties in South Dakota that have been approved to implement the emergency conservation program for their county, for an area, for a specific disaster, but there is a deadline. So again, as we get to the end and I talk about how you stay connected and know what's going on locally, feel free to pick up the phone and reach out. If you were in those areas, lots of flooding, Northeast South Dakota, lots and lots of heavy rainfall, flooding. We had in the center part of the state, Gerald Sanborn, tornadoes, things like that that require cleanup and restoration and repairs. So really encourage you to just, I'm sharing about this program. If you think you had something and you have questions on any of these or if they're applicable, it's okay to pick up the phone or reach out to me as well. I'll have my contact information at the end.
Gail, one question on that one.
Mhm.
You named that folks need to call the local office for their deadlines, but is that also listed somewhere online that they can see, maybe on a social channel or on the website too? Or is it just
Okay.
case by case, depending on the situation and the emergency?
Yes. As far as I'm aware, it would not be put on social media pages. Those are only handled nationally. We do not have local social media or specific South Dakota pages. However, when we're done investing, I'm going to see if I can find a full listing of the ECP that folks can get into, producers. Otherwise, because it is not, it varies. There is no set deadline. So I will see if I can find that list of the ECP dates and deadlines that's available for public.
Okay, but just
Yeah.
a quick call would be the
Yeah,
best way.
that would be the best. Yes, because it is county specific. This is one of those programs and they set that time frame where they do 30 days, 60 days, whatever it is. There's an actual, it's handled locally. The local county is publicizing when that deadline is. And so that's the best way to do it. I will, however, when we get done, I can't have my fingertips put to it because I have a different system, of course, I would get into to find what's approved and available. And I will see if I can find a public facing, one to find out. But just call or I'll have my contact at the end, shoot me an email and I can find out as well and direct you if there's something. But yeah, so if you think of some of these things, you maybe didn't know this existed. Boy, getting that cost share 75%, and in some cases, for you all, it may be up to 90% cost share to do some of these practices. So especially if you're a lot of cattle producers, the fences, right? They can take that out. And or in the drought, we did a lot of the emergency water. What that looked like for water pipeline or tanks and get tanks in, etc. So yep, I'm glad they're having questions about that. I just will need to find more information for sure.
Thanks, Gail.
Okay. Yeah. So the last disaster program I was actually going to cover today is the non-insured disaster assistance program. So we call this NAP. NAP offers financial support to producers of non-insurable crops. In other
Gail,
words, yeah,
sorry to
go ahead.
interrupt.
Yeah,
Sorry. I think we got to go back to the other one just really quickly. There's one more
sure.
question that got pulled in. Are they still doing 90%? I thought they took that out, or was that just with NRCS?
So interesting that you asked. I had the same question as well. And I received confirmation today that it is 90% is still on the table as of today. So I'm unsure if we may see some changes coming. The 75% is written into the handbook. So I encourage producers to reach out, especially since those are shorter sign up timeframes as well, to put that. But yes, so I did include that because as of today, the 90% is still on the table for producers. Good question, though. Very good question, because there's been lots of comments and things around that subject. But that's what we have as of today, and just know otherwise that's 5%.
Okay, one more question, Gail.
Yeah.
Would restoring fences due to either flooding or high snowfall work for this emergency program?
It could be restoring fences, yes. If those disasters, if the county committee decided there was the requirements have been met for the county to implement the emergency conservation program. This is county by county. The FSA county committee, which could have 3 to 7 members on it. They're the folks who are making the determination along with the county executive director gathering the information if something like this needs to be implemented. And then it goes through an approval process to see from Deputy Administrator of Farm Programs, et cetera, if it could be approved and there's funding for it. So if you have that and you've had a disaster, those are the cases where picking up the phone and reaching out, even if you're not right now currently participating, I'm going to talk in a little bit about how we get you connected and get you going with the office, but it's okay. You don't have to be someone that's receiving our loans or receiving programs. If you had that as an agricultural producer, you were able to pick up that phone and call the office and say, hey, I had this happen because of this disaster. It flooded, took out all my fences. And as you do that, then the county committee say, okay, this was widespread. We need to make a request to implement the ECP program in their county or in that area.
Okay, perfect. So basically, they're influenced by what they see is going on and what they hear from local producers.
Correct. Yep. And they're going to have weather data. Exactly. Like if it's heavy rain and, you know, 5 inches came in 30 minutes or those sorts of documentation they are gathering to go through the process that there is to request. They can't just decide they're requesting it from our national level, right? That they want to implement ECP in the county due to this natural disaster. And then if it is approved, like I said, we've just got a few more counties went through that approval process. Then they can begin implementation. And then producers need to come in though and apply. Like it isn't just across the board and put money out. You still, if you had that specifically, want to call the office and see that. And that's where you want to know if this is available in your office. Like you want to stay connected and receiving emails and watching for news articles and things like that.
All right, thanks, Gail. That's all the
Yeah.
questions for ECP right now.
Okay,
Thanks.
good. Yeah, good discussion. I'm glad you bring that up because I'm basically just throwing a slide or two out there on these programs to get some discussion going and it's good questions. So let's just talk lastly then about NAP, and hopefully you're not already for a nap because it's been some really good discussion as we learn and talk through this together. So this is the one, as I was saying, like non-insurable crops, which essentially if federal crop insurance is not available on a crop, this would allow to protect against natural disaster that result in lower yields or destroyed crops or the inability to plant if you could not get it planted. And some examples of non-insurable crops would include like forage production, so hay and grazing, and then crops such as fruits, vegetables, mushrooms, specialty crops like honey and maple sap. Eligible causes of loss include those natural disasters such as damaging weather like drought, freeze, hail, excessive moisture, or excessive wind. And the damaging weather must occur during the coverage period, before or during harvest, and then must directly affect that eligible crop. And so the NAP provides basic coverage equivalent to the catastrophic coverage level risk protection plan of insurance coverage, which is based on the amount of loss that exceeds 50% of expected production at 55% of the average market price for that crop. And so your loss must be greater than 50% to receive a payment. NAP coverage, though, is free for producers who qualify as beginning, limited resource, socially disadvantaged, or veteran farmers and ranchers who file that CCC 860. That's a really important form of certification to have on file in the office, a CCC 860. And then buy-up coverage also is available. Now, the sign-up deadlines vary. So, for example, for mini crops, it's March 15th, but the deadline for winter rye is coming up at September 30th. So, again, contact your local FSA office for detailed enrollment instructions and those deadlines. And so that was the last of our standing disaster programs that I wanted to highlight for you today. Are there any questions that we've thought of after going through a few more?
I don't see any yet, but we can give people just, a little breather to ask any. We'll just
Yeah, or
wait.
random questions.
Yeah.
It's not information to try and put together, but it's just understanding and knowing what might be available, especially if you are trying to recover from a disaster. Reach out because that's what our programs are here to help and assist financially, and then technical assistance too. Okay, then I'd like to switch to our loan programs. So I should just share for over 30 years, I had been a senior farm loan officer working in farm loans with South Dakota FSA, and recently taken off that hat and done just the outreach and communications and working with beginning farmers and ranchers. But really, my heart and soul is in the farm loans because I've worked with so many producers and down to the third generation of helping producers with our loan programs. So I enjoy sharing about this, but I'm only going to throw out a brief overview today because I'm going to dive into the details in part 2 next week. So I'll just talk a little bit about it. I only have a few slides, and then you'll have to join next week to hear even more about what's available and the different ways to work through our loan programs. Excuse me. So FSA offers loans directly through USDA, and then we also guarantee loans through other lenders to eligible borrowers. Before you apply, you need to decide what type of loan you need. So we've got FSA farm ownership loans, and this is just a formal name that has the word farm in it. That essentially means an ag operation. So that could be a cow-calf operation, a small vegetable farm, etc. It's just how we term it. These types of loans help you purchase a farm or ranch, enlarge an existing ag operation, construct new farm buildings, improve existing buildings, or pay closing costs. And these loans have repayment period up to 40 years. There are specific eligibility requirements though for direct farm ownership loans, so I really encourage you to visit with your local loan official. Operating loans are used to purchase items like equipment or maybe breeding stock, your cows or bulls, or pay for annual operating expenses. Repayment is from 1 to 7 years. And then moving to microloans. So FSA developed the microloan program to better serve the needs of small beginning farmer or rancher, like the niche, the non-traditional farm operations. The microloan application process is simpler, requiring less paperwork to complete, consistent with a smaller loan amount. Requirements for managerial experience and loan security have also been modified to accommodate veterans, small farm operations, and beginning farmers. And then we have emergency loans, and they help producers recover from natural disasters. And we've got youth loans. They're available to 4-H and FFA members to start or expand an income producing ag related project. So you may need to apply for more than one type of loan at the same time if you need money for different purposes, and that's okay. Visit with your local FSA office to find out what is the best fit for your operation. Loans available directly through USDA range from those $50,000 microloans to a maximum of $400,000 for operating loans and up to $600,000 for farm ownership loans. These limitations are outstanding principal at the time of closing. Borrowers may have more than one loan outstanding for each category as long as the total outstanding principal does not exceed the maximum for each loan type. So FSA interest rates are updated monthly. For farm loans approved or closed in September, you can see operating loans are at 4.875%, and our farm ownership loans are just under 6%. Once a loan is closed, the interest rate is fixed for the life of the loan. Another loan program I wanted to share about was the farm storage facility loan program. That's the one I said earlier on is not just for grain bins anymore. So these provide low interest financing for producers to store, handle, or transport eligible commodities that they produce, including constructing new or used portable or permanent affixed on farm storage and handling facilities, acquire new or used storage and handling trucks, or acquire portable or permanently affixed storage and handling equipment. So some examples are listed, like baggers, hay sheds, and cold storage buildings. Just a reminder that the loan must be, though, for commodities that you produce, not purchase, and you must demonstrate a storage need. So, for instance, if you were buying all your hay, it's not the same, but if you're producing it for your cattle and you need a place to store it, this would be a great avenue, something you really want to check into, some low financing to store that hay. There is a maximum of 500. Oh, is there a question?
Sorry, I was gonna wait for you to finish one of the bullet points here, but there's a couple questions when you're ready for them.
Okay, yeah, I'm just going to tell the 500,000 maximum that we've got down there, and we do have that minimum 15% down payment. Loan terms are up to 12 years. It just depends on the amount of loan based on how many loans a year, how much you're borrowing, how many years then we would do it. If it's new or used, also makes a difference. And there is a microloan for a farm storage facility as well as that 50,000 or less. So that's really good for newer small producers. So were there some questions? This is all I had
Um,
on farm storage.
Yep. Okay, we got a couple here. We might
Yeah.
need to go back a slide for this one. Do you know if the 10-year limit is still in effect for FO loans from the time they closed their first loan, or did that get changed?
Yes, I am not aware of any changes um, or anything that would be official as of yet. So right now, and what they're referring to, just for the rest of you, so we like to be a progression lending, meaning we want to help producers get started or expand, and then we want to be able to have them be able to obtain commercial credit and move on, and then we will help the next producer. And so, with that, we do have some term limits. And so, for our real estate notes, the ones that are called farm ownership loans, what we like to do is we can loan 10 years, we can loan additional funds 10 years from the date of when they close and get their new loan, as long as there's still room in that 600,000 maximum that we talked about. It doesn't mean you have to pay it off by year 10. It just means additional loans after that point, they would not be eligible for new farm ownership money from FSA. So that's some of the term, meaning by that point, we're hope you're at a point that you are a good position financially, made some financial progress and done some savings where you can obtain other credit.
Hey, thank you, Gail. I hope that
Yeah.
answered your question. There's two more questions here. I'm going to kind of jump around because I think this one fits here. When a family member has a loan with FSA and they want to transfer the loan over to their child, does the interest rate they are locked into stay, or does it go to the current interest rate that's being offered?
Oh, that's a really good question, and it may vary by the application and the situation. So you would want to contact the local office because we do have it would be called if it would be on like new rates and terms. So it would be the existing rate if they're part of the operation at the time, and we're going to be taking it over. But we do have what is called transfer and assumption. So the security, the real estate, the debt is transferred, and then that son or daughter is assuming the debt and the security. But there's some caveats to it, so it's worth picking up a phone call and walking through that with the local office to see if that's something that could maintain like same rates and terms.
Okay, thank
Otherwise,
you.
it might be more advantageous if they're a beginning farmer things to go new rates and terms. So sometimes the answers are to sit down with a white notepad and say, hey, and then what is met for the eligibility, and then what actually might even be better to do the new rates and terms for the son or daughter.
Okay, thank you. The
Mhm.
last question is back to the FSFL. Is there a reason the farm ownership loan limit is so low, knowing that, hold on, let me back up here.
Sorry.
Knowing what land prices are at and that
Oh,
FSFL is maxed at 500K?
Okay, so they are two different things though. So I want to make sure we understand this direct limit that's on the screen right now. These are our farm loan limits. So the purchase of farm loan ownership, the 600,000. And next week I'm going to get into how we can do some joint financing. We can partner with lenders and commercial credit or other folks to get part of it if 600,000 is not enough. Totally separate from that because this is actually through CCC, which is the Commodity Credit Corporation. That maximum of 500,000, it is only for these things. It's not farm loan purchase related. This is for constructing those newer used grain bins we talked about, maybe buying refrigerated trucks, putting up a hay shed. And each of those loans has a maximum of 500,000. So
Okay.
that might be confusing. They're two totally separate programs. And
Okay,
I
I
can get into more
that
details next time.
answers. Yep, one more popped in. I'll go ahead and clear one. Does FSFL still do loans for bale beds?
Oh, interesting. So I had this on here, an example, and then I took it off. Yeah, yes, there has been. I know out West River bale beds. We have to look at it as something that's used to transport. So, for instance, we would use a big grain trailer, right? And so it has to be as long as it's showing, and there might be some caveats at type. That it needs to be for a bale bed, the bed itself, because it is hauling the hay. I've seen them. You haul that, right? That take that bale and take it out to the pasture wherever you're hauling. So yes, please call your office and check on those. And if you hear different, call me because I know we've been able to do some of those in South Dakota.
Okay, thanks, Gail. No more questions for now.
Oh, okay. Awesome. So that's an farm storage facility loans. Again, those are just really quick overview of the lending. I really encourage folks to jump on next week where I can dive into these and have separate slides and discussion and examples on using some of those loan programs and a combination of them. See, that's a good thing, you all, is you can use farm storage facility loans, you can get farm loans, you can, unfortunately, maybe I don't want you to have to use disaster programs, but if there is, then that's available, right? Or you may want to purchase the non-insured assistance program, the NAP insurance. So we really want to share this and go, okay, here's what we have. How can you leverage those, kind of layer them to make it work best for your operation? So just there will be more to come on those, and I'm happy to continue answering questions. I have a few more slides. Let's keep going here. Just really wanted to share quickly, in addition to like our traditional loan programs we talked about for individual and family size, we've got 3 additional programs. The first is the Indian Tribal Land Acquisition Program. It is a loan program for federally recognized tribes to purchase additional land within their reservation boundaries. Kind of an ideal program to purchase land that may have gone out of trust or to purchase undivided individual allotted interest to obtain 100% ownership. The next is the Highly Fractionated Indian Land Program, HIFL, designed to help Native American landowners, tribal members, and tribal entities consolidate ownership of highly fractionated Indian lands. Program provides revolving loan funds to qualified intermediary lenders, allowing tribes and individuals ability to purchase tribal ag land that has multiple fractionated owners. Program can be used with other FSA loan programs. So that's what's great about this. We can use these programs together. Currently, though, there are no lenders actively participating, but stay tuned. Heirs Property Relending Program, HPRP, heirs may use these loans from intermediary lenders to resolve title issues by financing the purchase or consolidation of property interests and financing costs associated with that succession plan, like buying out fractional interests of heirs to clear the title, closing costs, appraisals, legal services, etc. Program eligibility. I just want to spend the next few minutes talking about if you're not familiar with the FSA, or if you are, what else might be helpful to get you started? Because FSA, as we've talked about today, can help you get started or grow your farming operation through a variety of programs and services. So to get started, you're going to want to do this customer data worksheet. Okay, it's a 2047. It's a customer profile is used for Farm Record Association, like program application generation, and a point of reference if FSA needs to contact you for FSA business. So I want to note though, specific programs will also have a program application and may also have additional program eligibility forms. An FSA record is required to participate in USDA programs. So your journey with USDA is going to start at the FSA office. Even if you aren't like doing FSA loans or FSA disaster programs, if you were to get benefits from NRCS, some conservation planning or assistance through their programs, we need to create that farm record for you. And then after your record has been created, that's when our staff can assist producers to determine which program is right for your goals and complete the required forms, including those program applications. And just a reminder that new producers are encouraged to contact your local USDA service center to schedule an appointment. And you can find those if you're looking for them on farmers.gov. Establishing a relationship with your FSA service center early is best. And so, regardless of how you are applying, these are the items you'll want to compile for your first visit with FSA. That proof of identity, okay, so a driver's license, social security number card, a tribal ID card, etc. Bring any copies of land leases or ownership that you have to establish your farm records. And a note there, you do not have to own property to participate in all FSA programs. So I don't want you to think that, hey, I don't own any land. There's nothing for me. There is. And we just wanted to note that on there. If you bring these in on your first visit with FSA, it's really going to ensure that we're able to build as much of your customer record as possible to further expedite participating in our FSA and NRCS programs. Most FSA programs do have a maximum payment amount that applicants can earn. So I just on this slide wanted to note that federally recognized Indian tribes are not included under the definition of person or legal entity when applying for payment eligibility and payment limit provisions. So no limitations or restrictions are imposed on federally recognized Indian tribes or tribally chartered entities for receiving program payments or benefits. Some benefits. So your personal information is used to establish your customer record. And then from there, land in your farming operation will be identified. And it's like delineated out from aerial photography and assigned what we call like a farm number, a unique farm and tract number. Establishing your customer record and this farm record are very important prerequisites for participating in USDA programs, right? As well as state and county programs administered by USDA stakeholders. And to stay abreast of FSA programs, it's great to receive these emails by signing up for the Gov delivery and text messages that we'll talk about as well, relating to program announcement, sign up period, and deadlines. And doing this ahead of program sign up can kind of ease the paperwork when you are ready to sign up for a program. So for instance, when we talked about those disaster programs, things that are only available and trigger with certain things, if you're not currently an operator, I have a farm record at FSA, I would encourage you to do that so that when a disaster were to occur or something else, other program you wanted to participate in, you've already got your record set aside. We'll have you in the system. You'll be receiving notifications and emails of program deadlines and things like that. So important to stay up on what's going on. Now here, I believe even if you take out your phone, you could scan the QR code too. It would take you right to these Apply Now packets that are available online to help simplify and streamline your first visit to the offices, right? I don't want to overwhelm you when you say we got to bring a few things with. So this actually walks through it. This packet contains eligibility forms and guidance needed to enroll with FSA as an ag producer and participate in FSA and NRCS programs. And they're available online at farmers.gov, or you can use this QR code. Packets are available for individuals, entities, and for tribal government customers at any USDA service center as well. And just note there are different eligibility forms that may be required depending on how you conduct business. And again, specific programs will also have a program application and may also have additional program eligibility forms that need to be completed. So that's why we encourage you to contact your local service center and schedule like that one-on-one appointment with our dedicated FS employees who are ready and willing to assist you with this paperwork and get you started. And then you're in the system. And then say a disaster program or something rolls out, you will do a separate application for that program. Another QR code that I know works in 2023, USDA launched a tribal partnership page. It features federal responsibility of tribal conservation partnership opportunities, support for tribal food sovereignty opportunities for Indigenous representation within USDA. And if you want to learn more about farm production and conservation support for tribal nations and citizens, please visit the farmers.gov/tribal, or again, you can scan that QR code. Before I wrap up part one, I want to remind folks of the importance of participation in the FSA county committees and the election process. I did mention that county committees earlier, especially when we were talking about the emergency conservation program. County committees are unique to FSA and they serve as that direct link between agricultural communities and USDA. Committees help deliver FSA farm programs at the local level. Members are elected by FSA customers locally. All FSA customers are encouraged to consider running for this position and to return ballots by December 1st. And you can see on there early November if your area that you operate in has a election and there should be someone on the nomination on the ballot. You'll receive that in the mail and we ask you to return those to the office by December 1st. It's a good way to stay active and be involved in your local community. So, wow, I've shared a lot of information in a short time. We've had some really good questions, but it's just really important to stay connected with USDA and your local county office. This Gov delivery is a great and it's a free communications tool we utilize to send updates to producers via newsletters and our SMS text messages. You can subscribe on farmers.gov, and I believe that Ms. Dawn has been uploading a few links, and maybe she'll throw that one in the chat, right, to get you to farmers.gov. And you scroll down to the bottom and you'll see this right here where I'll say enter email address and subscribe. It'll take you to that page. Or there's another one that says stay connected that I was going to have her upload into the chat. And that as well will help you go right where you can sign up. And then you could even send a text right now. You guys pull out your cell phones and you can send a text message to 372-669, just like I have on there the example. So if you live in Todd County, South Dakota, you would SD Todd, text that to 372-669 and you'd be signed up. Just know that news will come out. You can get the email to your home, office, smartphone on the go. On average, you can expect at least like one news bulletin a month. And it's going to have things like deadline reminders, program notifications. So exactly what we were talking about, like the emergency conservation program or livestock forage program, disaster assistance available in your area. So I encourage you to sign up today. The text messages are few and far between. We're limited at 2 a month. So I promise we don't fill up your phone or your inbox, but we want you to stay informed and stay connected so that you know what might be available in your area, especially if a natural disaster strikes. Finally, if you have any questions about FSA or another USDA agency, or if you're looking for your local USDA service center, talk about farmers.gov. This site covers all things related to farm, production, and conservation. And I encourage you to reach out to your local FSA office with specific program questions. Your local USDA center has staff who can meet with producers one-on-one to help identify USDA programs that meet the needs of a specific operation, including loans and conservation assistance. And then service center staff guide producers through the process of like preparing and submitting required paperwork. But there are some self-service features also available online with the secure farmers.gov account. And some more of that, working with our online tools, will also be talked about next week. So you won't want to miss it. And as we wrap up part one, are there any more questions? I do have my contact information on the screen. So please reach out. It's just been a joy to be on it, and I'm happy to answer some more questions because we have a few minutes left. I appreciate the opportunity to share. And what does it look like we've got for questions, Dawn?
Nothing as of yet, but yeah,
Oh,
if you have any questions, please put them in the chat or in that Q&A box. Or join us next week again on September 11th if there was anything that may have come up in the last few slides.
Yep. Yeah, that'll be good. We'll dig in deeper to the different type of loan programs and some really good tools we have online. We'll go right onto that farmers.gov, hopefully if we get some time, and we'll walk through the online tools that folks can use and have available. But I'm always happy to assist or do a soft handoff and send you to a county office as well and connect you and hook you with who can help you locally. But you have my contact information. So, and Dawn, you as well, feel free to share that if folks have specific questions. And or even if it's in another state, I don't know if we have folks outside the state that are joining as well, but I can make connections for you there as well.
Great. Okay, thanks so much, Gail. We have a minute left, guys. So I just want to offer my gratitude to Gail and to all of the attendees today for the great questions and the engagement. Thanks for using the chat box and the Q&A box. go ahead and take a screenshot of Gail's information here, but you're welcome to reach out to me as well. I'm going to put Akiptan's feedback form in the chat box. We want to hear from you. We want to know how we did on this webinar. We want to know what other information you would like to hear from. If something sparked your interest in this presentation today, you can add it to that form and we will do our best to get you the information that you need so that you can be successful in your operation. The recording will be available on our website as well. If you see things today, you can follow up. It's on our website. And the last thing I want to mention today is we have other webinars coming up. So Gail will be back on the 11th to do part 2 and go over loan things, but we also have Mr. Rob Holcomb joining us in October on the 15th for an hour and a half to talk about any new general agriculture tax updates. So make sure and join us for that one as well. And then next on the schedule at the end of the year on November 12th, we're going over agriculture operation balance sheets with one of our loan officers. So yeah, once again, thank you all. I hope you have a great rest of the day and we'll see you back here next week.